Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, which is Seamless Acceptance 101. We appreciate very much the Central Florida PCC asking us to share this webinar with you today. My name is Monica Lundquist. I'm the Marketing and Training Specialist here at Windobook. And also with us today is Mary Bush, and she is one of our Professional Services Specialists. So again, we like to thank the Central Florida PCC, and I will turn it over now to Deborah Frenchek, and she's going to say a few words on behalf of the Postal Service and the PCC.
Thank you, Monica. Okay, a statement from the Post Office. The Postal Service is an essential service for purposes of compliance with state or municipality shelter-in-place orders or other social distancing restrictions. We have developed localized continuity of operation plans that are employed in the case of emergencies to help ensure that the nation's postal system continues to function for the American public. The USPS is proud of the work our employees play in processing, transporting, and delivering mail and packages, which is a vital public service that is a part of of this nation's critical infrastructure. The United States Postal Service has a dedicated COVID-19 command response leadership team that is focusing on employee, operational, business, and customer continuity during this unprecedented epidemic. We continue to follow the strategies and measures recommended by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, and Public Health Departments. For those business mailers who utilize the Business Service Network, we encourage them to continue to maintain the line of communication with the representative on changes to the postal system. If a customer or mailing partner needs to shut down its operation due to the current situation, they should contact their BSN contact, sales contact, or their local business mail entry contact to discuss their plans. These local contacts will notify the districts, area, and headquarters of any needed assistance or broader impacts. The Postal Service continues to use its existing processes for many of the more common impacts customers are concerned about. And some questions that are often raised are, how is USPS handling mail for closed businesses? Mail on the delivery route is returned to the delivery unit and will be held for 10 days under current policies. The customers can request a temporary hold for their mail for up to 30 days. Call or box customers should contact their local office to discuss how they will be handling the pickup of this volume. Any high volume customer will be contacted to discuss pickup options as well. And how is the USPS delivering mail under shelter-in-place declarations? The Postal Service is classified as an essential government service operation, which allows us to continue all operations. And then how safe is the mail and transport equipment? Current Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and World Health Organization, WHO, guidance continues to indicate there is no evidence that the virus is spreading through the mail. According to WHO, the likelihood of an infected person contaminating commercial goods is low, and the risk of catching the virus from a package that has been moved, traveled, and exposed to different conditions and temperatures is also low. This guidance remains true for all mail transport equipment and also for all mail transport equipment. The USPS experiencing capacity issues due to reduced airline routes. There are no domestic air capacity issues at this time. The Postal Service continues to work with international air carriers and contract air carriers to keep the mail moving. Industry and commercial customers can email questions or concerns about COVID-19 and the mail to industryfeedback@usps.gov. So that's industry feedback, all one word, at usps.gov with COVID-19 in the subject line. Mailers can also sign up for industry alerts at industryfeedback@usps.gov. For more information, you can go to USPS.com and to see the USPS coronavirus statement. So you would just go to USPS.com/newsroom and that has any current statements or industry alerts also listed there. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Deborah. Yes, some challenging times that we're in, but I'm convinced that if we get through this, we're going to get through it together, and we'll come back stronger than ever. So thank you very much for that statement. All right, so what we're going to be talking about today is seamless acceptance. We're going to talk about what it is, and we're also going to talk about seamless parallel, which is the testing period before you can go live with seamless. We're going to talk about some of the benefits to use seamless acceptance. Then we're going to switch it over to Mary, and Mary is going to demonstrate some of the products that WindowBook has that can help mailers integrate seamless acceptance and help try to reduce any kind of threshold errors that you're getting, and then also be able to document and dispute those errors if you need to. And then we'll follow it up with a Q&A session. So what exactly is seamless acceptance? Well, seamless acceptance is designed to help streamline and automate the acceptance, verification, payment, and induction of business mailings performed during postal processing of the mail. Essentially, it helps break down the barriers that you face today for faster mail processing without delays incurred at the point of acceptance and verification. So how does it work? Well, seamless acceptance leverages the electronic documentation, or EDOC, and the intelligent mail barcodes. And those barcodes are the ones that exist on the mail pieces, trays, sacks, and containers. And it leverages all of this data to automate the acceptance and verification process. Seamless acceptance allows the Postal Service and mailers, to answer 3 key questions. Have all the pieces been paid for? Are the mail pieces addressed accurately? And is the mailing prepared correctly? So how does it do all of this? Well, by comparing the information that's submitted in that EDOC, or electronic documentation, to the mail piece characteristic data that's obtained during the processing of the mail. Seamless acceptance uses sample scanning at induction and mail processing equipment, or MPE, scans to evaluate address accuracy, mail quality, and postage payment. This is a quick visual of how the seamless process works, and you can see one of the requirements, or some of the requirements, are that you use unique barcodes and that you have EDOC, or you're submitting mailings electronically, and you have to have the piece data provided in that EDOC. Mail is then verified by reviewing the data within that EDOC, and that's called an EDOC verification, and the comparison of that EDOC data to the MPE scans. That's called census verification. Also, the comparison of the EDOC data to scans from sampling, which is called sampling verification. Well, these 3 verification types provide a complete view of the mail preparation. Mailers that participate in seamless acceptance will have their postage statements automatically finalized after a successful job submission to Postal One. So this means that these statements are no longer finalized by a business mail entry clerk. Rather, these postage statements are finalized by the Postal One system on the postage statement mailing date that is submitted in the electronic documentation. And this is one of the benefits to seamless acceptance, because this allows mailers much greater control over their postage payment, and specifically the data they're mailing. Now, mailers do need to verify that the permits and account numbers that are associated to their accounts are funded prior to this postage statement finalization. And Postal One does perform balance checks on the payment account that's listed in the EDOC for any EDOCs that are in the updated status. And it does these verification checks every 24 hours, beginning 2 days before the mailing date. Now, if there are cases of insufficient funds in these accounts, An email is sent to the Verification Assessment Evaluator, or VAE, that's identified for your CRID. If the statement does not auto-finalize on the mailing date, Postal One will then attempt to auto-finalize 4 times per day for the next 14 days. On the 15th day, then, the statement must be manually finalized by a BME clerk after sufficient funds have been added to the payment account. Now, this entire auto-finalization process can be tested by mailers in the Test Environment for Mailers, or TEM, area of Postal One. So who can participate in seamless acceptance? Well, it's currently limited to mailings and mailers that meet specific rules of engagement governing mail preparation, barcoding, and electronic documentation. And you can see, based on what we just discussed, that you've got to meet those certain requirements to be able to have unique barcodes and submit electronic documentation. So for mailers that are interested in seamless acceptance participation, you would make an application to the Postal Service, and then you would sign up for what is called Seamless Parallel. This is an intermediate testing step that you need to take before you can go fully live in seamless acceptance. One of the volume criteria is that 90% or more of your mail is full service. Now, once you get to that point and you sign up for Seamless Parallel, it doesn't change the way that your mail is verified or expose you to any new assessments, but it does give you extra visibility into the qualification and accuracy of your mail and the data that you provide. Seamless Parallel allows mailers to work with the Postal Service to understand the mail quality results and prepare for full live seamless acceptance. So you'll receive feedback on whether your eDoc meets these seamless acceptance and mail barcoding requirements. And this is on a seamless tab that appears on your mailer scorecard. Now, because seamless acceptance relies on the barcode scans for the census and sampling data, eDoc and unique barcodes are required for all mail, including single piece volume at a facility before you can transition out of Seamless Parallel. So another one of the goals of the parallel testing period is for the mailer to work towards 100% barcoding of pieces, handling units, and containers. The eDoc must also include the piece level detail, such as a PDR, piece detail record, or PBC, piece barcode file in the mail.dat file. So how exactly does the mailing verification work while you're in Seamless Parallel? Well, the BME or DMU clerks will continue their current verification process in parallel with the seamless sampling. So they'll check to make sure that the auto finalization is working as expected. They'll also perform any dismiss release procedures when they're applicable. That's the dropship management system, and monitor the mail quality reports. Any issues or concerns should be discussed between the mailer and the Postal Service during this parallel process. If the mail quality is below the thresholds for 1 calendar month, then the mailer is eligible to be activated to go live with seamless acceptance. Now, once that activation occurs, then the BME or DMU clerks will perform seamless sampling only. The manual verification process will then be performed only on any non-automation or non-barcoded mailings. This is a quick visual of how that mailing verification process works. Once you go into seamless production, mailers submit the mail and the eDoc. Upon successful submission, the statement is automatically finalized. Then the Postal Service will do manual sampling and the mail piece sampling, process the mail, and while they're doing that, the additional verifications will occur, and then any reports are generated, and you can get that data on your mailer scorecard. Again, that's on the Seamless tab. The results of the acceptance process are displayed in the mailer scorecard under that Seamless tab. And this data is aggregated over a 1-month period for measurement against established thresholds. Now, this data is informational only when mailers are in seamless parallel phase. In other words, you are not, you won't be getting any assessments during the parallel phase. Now, this chart shows the verifications that are monitored for compliance, each having its own error threshold. So bottom line, mailers need to pay much stricter attention to their mailer scorecard so that any anomalies during the parallel period can be taken care of with Postal One, and so that errors exceeding the thresholds can be corrected before you go live and the assessments would become a possibility. So what exactly is measured in seamless acceptance, and what are the acceptable thresholds? Well, one of the items measured is undocumented pieces. These are individual mail pieces that are scanned during Postal Service mail processing, but can't be matched up back to any EDOC. The move update process is also measured, as is the accuracy of the delivery point data. Mail piece characteristics are also measured as part of the sampling process. The nesting and sortation accuracy is measured by comparing the EDOC with both the MPE and census samples. Postage, weight, and barcode scan rates are also measured, and you can see in this chart what the Postal Service defines as the error threshold. And again, the seamless parallel testing period is when mailers can get feedback on their mail quality and work on improving any reported errors and get to a consistent quality level before getting activated to live seamless. It's important to note that the Postal Service uses a postage assessment factor, or PAF, to calculate the dollar amount of any postage, weight, or mail characteristic assessments or errors for errors over the thresholds. Errors are measured over the period of a calendar month and compared to the thresholds. The Postal Service will collect postage for errors when the mailer has exceeded this PAF more than 3 times in a rolling 12-month period. The 4th month over the PAF threshold in the rolling 12-month period is the month that will be assessed, and each PAF is separately evaluated. Now, the postage assessment calculations for the other validations are detailed in the Guide to Seamless Acceptance, which is available on the Postal Service's Postal Pro website. And details on this are also available in the Streamlined Mail Acceptance Guide, also available on the Postal Pro website. For the address quality aspect of seamless acceptance, the delivery point data is verified by comparing the data in the Intelligent Mail barcode scans to the data that's in the electronic documentation. For example, it will look for invalid or inactive 11-digit, 9-digit, or 5-digit delivery point data, or such cases as the Intelligent Mail barcode containing all zeros or all nines in the delivery point area. For the address quality aspect of seamless acceptance, the move update information is also examined. For example, if the mail piece MPE scans show that the mail piece received more than one associated change of address record, where that change of address create date and effective date is between 95 days and 18 months of the postage statement finalization date, that would be considered an error because obviously those change of address records are pretty old. Likewise, if the mail piece is undeliverable as addressed and receives an associated NICSE record, that would also be considered an error. And if the piece was undeliverable because the Intelligent Mail barcode delivery point and the routing delivery point do not match, that would also be considered an error. Basically, what this means is that mailers need to ensure that they're keeping their mailing addresses up to date and accurately applying that data not only in the address, but in the barcode and in the electronic documentation. Undocumented pieces is probably what most people are familiar with and probably the biggest concern because it can be one of the largest assessments if you run into errors. The undocumented, again, comes from the mail piece equipment or mail processing equipment or from sampling. And this is when the intelligent mail barcode is scanned and there's an attempt to associate that barcode from the scan back to a finalized EDOC. And it will identify scans that could not be associated to an EDOC when the service type ID or STID is either full service or basic. In those cases, these scans will first be flagged as unassociated. Then it will go ahead and attempt or reattempt to associate those unassociated pieces back to EDOC, and it'll do that for a period of 3 days after the scan date and time. Now, if that intelligent mail barcode still can't be associated back to any EDOC submission, then the barcode would be considered undocumented. If, however, the intelligent mail barcode can be associated back to an EDOC within that 3-day time period, then the barcode would not be considered undocumented. Now, a question that often comes up regarding potential assessments for undocumented pieces is, who exactly gets the assessment? Currently, this assessment is assigned to the CRID of the EDOC submitter. However, the Postal Service does use a bookending process to look at the CRID associated with the owner of the mailer ID or MID in the intelligent mail barcode on the mail piece. So in some cases, they may be able to actually pinpoint that there are multiple mail owners within a mailing and make assessments accordingly. In these cases, if both the owner of the MID and the mail service provider agree that the assessment should go to the service provider instead, this can be manually adjusted in Postal One so that these undocumented pieces would be assigned and reported under the mail service provider's location. Again, more details on the entire postage assessment process can be obtained from the Guide to Postage Assessments and the Seamless Acceptance Guide. These are both available on the Postal Pro website. The barcode scan rate is also calculated for mail piece, and essentially what this means is that the piece barcode scan rate is determined by calculating the number of pieces that received a scan, and that's compared to the total number of pieces that were expected. In other words, the total number of pieces that were reported in the EDOC. Now, there are instances where mail pieces are excluded from this scan rate calculations. That would be instances, for example, when a scan is not expected. So, for example, mail pieces would be excluded if the mail is entered into a facility where they will not or cannot be scanned. So, for example, if they're entering at a DDU that doesn't have scanning equipment, those pieces would be excluded from that calculation. Likewise, an adjustment would be made to the total piece count if a piece is destined for a non-automation zone based on its 5-digit delivery zip. Or pieces that are processed on MPE equipment that's operating below an acceptable threshold, those would also be excluded from that scan rate. Nesting and sortation is also analyzed, and that is done by the sampling data is compared back to that electronic documentation to determine if it matches the nesting and sortation in the EDOC. So it'll essentially reconstruct bundles and trays using the scan information from the MPE equipment to determine the correct nesting and sortation. And the electronic documentation is also verified to ensure that the mailing has been prepared in accordance with the pre-sort rules outlined in the DMM. Weight verification is also performed, and that's done by comparing the piece weight captured during the sampling to the electronic documentation. I think you can start to see a pattern here. There's always comparison of the sample to the EDOC that's been submitted. So in this case, errors would be logged when a piece weight retrieved from the sample is greater than the piece weight that's claimed in the EDOC and the sample weight crosses into a new rate category. Or if the piece weight retrieved from the sample is greater than the piece weight claimed in the EDOC and exceeds the % threshold set for pound postage. Postage verification is performed by comparing the sampling results, again, back to that electronic documentation. And some typical examples of errors would be when the postage payment method from the sample doesn't match the EDOC. So for example, if the Postal Service takes a look at a mail piece and sees that there's a permit imprint or an indicia on the piece, and when they look back to the EDOC and the EDOC indicates that it's been metered, then that would be an error. Or, for example, if you do meter the mail and the affixed postage amount on the mail piece sample doesn't match the affixed postage that you claim in the EDOC, that would be an error. And mail characteristics are also evaluated, and this verification is performed by inspecting the physical preparation and comparing that sampling results to the electronic documentation. A few examples of errors would be if during sampling it was determined that the mail piece material is required to be mailed at first class rates, but it's actually been mailed at a different class of mail. Or if it contains material that's not eligible for nonprofit rates and nonprofit rates are claimed in the EDOC. Another example is if the processing category identified during sampling is different than the processing category claimed in the EDOC. So for example, if the mail piece is determined, the physical mail piece sample is determined that it is a flat size piece and your EDOC is claiming it at letter rates, then that would be considered an error. Now, despite all of this verification, there are benefits for mailers by participating in seamless acceptance. The verification process is all electronic, so at least in theory, it's a much faster process. Verification is also a more standardized process, which is particularly important if you've got multiple mailing sites. And I'm sure people that have multiple mailing sites have run into this situation before where you may have the identical mailing or one very similar that you're inducting at two different locations, and one place it passes just fine and another place it's stopped simply because of a differing interpretation of rules. This process kind of eliminates that possibility. But probably the biggest benefit for mailers is that the mailer controls both the mail release schedule and the postage payment schedule without any USPS intervention. So here's a perfect example. Let's say for the sake of this example that you have a DMU at your particular facility, or it could be a BMU that you take it to. And let's say that their acceptance hours close at 3 p.m. in the afternoon, but you continue to process a mail and prepare it and want to submit it into the evening hours up until midnight, say, for example. Well, you can still do that with Seamless, and you don't have to wait for that verification or wait for those people to be able to process that, because they do random samplings. So when you submit your Postal One file and you've got a mailing date of today, you don't have to worry about the fact that the DMU or BMU is not there to verify that mail. So this means you've got basically a longer production period, and you've got much more control over the date of that mailing. Another benefit is that the trend-based quality measurements means that mailers aren't going to be penalized for issues with a single mailing. And since you would have tested the accuracy of your data long before going live, and again, that's where that parallel process is so key, there's actually a minimized risk that problems with your data or process would actually lead to assessments. And there are many Postal Service resources available to access more information about seamless acceptance. I mentioned this before. The Postal Pro website includes a veritable laundry list of guides, fact sheets, videos, and so forth. So again, the Postal Pro website has an entire landing page that's dedicated to seamless acceptance. There's all kinds of resources there. Now, if you're interested in participating in seamless acceptance and for some reason you haven't been approached by your local postal representatives, you may contact either your local business mail entry office or your district business mail entry office and tell them that you're interested in participating in seamless. And if you don't know where those offices are in your area, you can look them up again on Postal Pro. They've got a business mail entry locator. All right, now that we've explained a little bit about seamless acceptance, what it involves and what some of the benefits are, I'm going to turn it over to Mary Bush. Mary is going to give us a high-level look at some of the tools from WindowBook that we've developed to help make seamless acceptance participation easier for mailers. Mary is one of our professional services specialists. She's got many years of experience in the industry. So I'm going to switch it over to Mary. Mary, why don't you go ahead and show us some of the very neat tools that WindowBook has to help mailers with seamless acceptance. Mary, are you there?
Thanks, Monica. I'm here, but I'm trying again, Monica. There's not a little button for me to share my screen. There it goes. So as Monica had mentioned, there's a lot of documentation and validation and disciplines and everything that need to be put into place. And I'm going to cover some of the options that we have to make this whole process that seems rather intimidating so much easier. Now, Monica had mentioned the free offer, and this in itself is a huge deal, which is the Your Score. So whether it's you or someone in your company that is responsible for going out and confirming and validating, and especially now during, these difficult trying times where so many people are working remote, there might be some difficulty in accessing this information every day. So the Your Score is a huge, huge tool to make things a little easier. And that when you get the emails are color coded. You'll see here on the screen that anything that's in green, and it is delivered to your inbox every morning, Monica, I think around 8 a.m. So if it's green, you don't even have to exert the time to log into the gateway and start drilling and trying to find any information. So the next one, now if the email comes to you and it's in yellow, right? So now you better pay attention because you're getting close to those thresholds. And it's all about thresholds and monitoring and making sure that your scorecard is within those percentages that Monica talked about. So here, if it's in yellow, we're even pointing out where that error occurs. And we provide the previous month and the current month's reports for you to do some investigative work. And this is the one you don't want to get. So now if you get the email and it's in red, you know that you've exceeded that threshold and whatever that threshold is. And in this case, you can see that it's a sortation error. So again, this is just another way to make verifying your scorecard just a little bit easier because it is delivered to your inbox every morning. Now, we do have some products that can help with the preliminary validation and verification. So I'm going to start here with DAT PreCheck. DAT PreCheck, you would use this product in the beginning of your process. Do you get files from an outside source? Do you have someone new doing pre-sort? Have you noticed that there's a lot of by for errors? Using that PreCheck prior to even importing it into DAT Mail and then submitting it to Postal One will catch some of those errors. The barcode, making sure that the information that's in that barcode matches the job that you're submitting. So all of that would occur here in DAT PreCheck. And it's as simple as adding the job into DAT pre-check, and then the report is delivered to you and it shows you all of the errors and it gives you the STID information. So again, just another way that you're confirming and validating that what you're doing is correct and accurate prior to submitting to Postal One. As Monica had mentioned, whether you're parallel or full seamless, making sure that all of your I's are dotted and T's are crossed before submitting makes everything a more, listen to the pun, a more seamless process. So another tool that we have, it's called WB Scan. Now, for some of you that are new here on one of our webinars, WB Scan would search our SQL database. So for those of you that aren't, as I had mentioned, are new and aren't familiar with our products, the back end of our product is the SQL database. So as you're importing jobs into DAT Mail, and I'll show you this in a second, all of this information is being recorded into that SQL database. By implementing WB Scan in the beginning of the process, again, you're going to catch certain errors and issues that may occur. Monica and I get to talk with many, many clients every day. And one of the common things seems to be the repetitive is a job gets resorted. The inkjet file goes out to the production floor, but that mail DAT never gets sent to the internal office. So the person in the office assumes that the file that they have is the correct one. That file gets submitted. The IMBs on the pieces don't match what was submitted, so now you've got a huge issue. What WB Scan does, once you get the scanning discipline in place, and I use that word discipline because it really is, and wow, today we have a whole bunch of disciplines we have to get used to, right? So let me simulate what that would look like. So here I have a barcode ready that I know is not in my SQL database. So as the person is scanning, and you would do this in maybe several areas in your operation, maybe at the piece, the tray, the pallet, wherever it suits your workflow, because again, all of this information is being recorded in SQL. But you'll see here that the person that's doing the scanning and they get this error, now you're able to stop and rectify the issue before that mail DAT gets submitted to Postal One. This is clearly telling that operator that this piece barcode does not exist in that SQL database. This now gives you the ability to reach out to data processing, reach out to whoever might be to find out, hey, did something happen here and what do we do to have to get it fixed? Now, another cool thing with being able to use WB Scan, and again, this is one of those common things that people tell us happens often, that as you're scanning even a tray, or you find the tray tag laying on the production floor, that you can easily now scan that tray tag and identify exactly what job, what pallet that tray tag belongs to. So again, a pretty useful tool. To qualify for Seamless, Monica told us that you have to be full service and submitting EDOC. So we've even taken some of that complexity out of the entire process. So those of you that, again, aren't familiar with DAT mail, and maybe after the webinar when it's question and answer time, those of you that are familiar with DAT mail and all of the products, maybe you'll share some of your experiences with us. But within DAT mail, we have some features in place that if you're pre-sort, you're not quite confident that those barcodes are being unique for a 45-day period. You can overwrite the tray and pellet barcodes. Within DAT mail, when you create an overflow tray, because of this SQL database, when you create that sibling or overflow, we record that barcode. So you know you won't have issues with that part of it. So it all stems back to making sure that everything is correct and accurate prior to submitting. Back in the day, right, being able to make a copy of that existing barcode and stick it in the sleeve are way gone. As you make these changes and edits, you see that, again, everything is being recorded and documented. Another problem area that we've resolved for our clients is when Postal 1 goes down and you're asked to go into contingency mode, some people will take a statement and give it to the clerk. That might not be the correct thing to do because occasionally that clerk will enter that report for you or that job. So with DAT mail, we actually create a contingency report for that day's mailings. So these are, again, all things that make it easier for you to function and eliminate some of those undocumented and making sure that everything is correct and accurate. So I call the WB scan part of it being proactive, because now you're trying to catch as much as you can in the beginning of the process, ensuring that when you submit it to Postal 1, it's correct. Well, sometimes that just doesn't work. You've got those 30, 40, 50 jobs, everything has to get out. So occasionally something slips through the cracks. We've developed another method for you to be able to review your barcodes, review the scorecard, and make sure that you have all those piece IMDs and everything documented. And that would be with the undocumented piece audit report. So this requires you to have on the gateway the informed visibility and those reports. You would download them, and you have to make sure that you download them because, and Monica will correct me if I'm wrong, they're only available for, I believe, a 7-day period. So you want to make sure that you get them downloaded so that you can import them into this product. And let me show you what that would look like then. So you would actually get a report of all your piece barcodes, your job IDs, and this is a great report to be able to dispute anything that could be on your report. And let me show you the other report here. And this is another report that we provide as well. And this just gives you a breakdown of that report layout. So it really starts to make sense. So this is more of a summary, and it would show you the piece counts And then this one is the actual report that gives you all of that detail that you would need in order to dispute one of those potential assessments. Now, we talked about EDOC and submitting electronically. After you create the release within DatMail, and you have, again, all of those jobs that you have to submit, I'll just take a second to let you know that the back end, we actually do have a product here called Postal Web Connector. Now, this takes away some of the, I guess, tedious, repetitive processes of constantly having someone manually upload those jobs. This would monitor a hot folder and do the submitting for you. And in the event something doesn't go up successfully, you can set these up so that a person or people, whoever the team might be, would get notified of that rejection immediately. And then you have visibility to the status of those jobs that are being submitted to Postal 1. And in the seamless environment, because those documents are coming back, are being finalized the day that they're being submitted, let me retract that, not the day they're being submitted, but the date that's in the mail dat, that's when they would be finalized. The statement viewer would actually print those reports. So whether it's the FIN, the confirmation page, everything would come back and be printed for you automatically. So I hope I've been able to demonstrate for you by using some of these products, whether it's way in the beginning of the process with DAT pre-check and getting that report, and again, heading that off immediately and maybe having to go back and resort if that's the solution, or WB scan and setting up some disciplines where these pieces are getting scanned, again, at the beginning of the production out on the floor and catching any errors. So I'll turn this back over to Monica, and I thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Mary. Great job at demonstrating some of those great tools that Windobook has made available to help people integrate seamless acceptance. So a few takeaways from today's webinar. Seamless acceptance does not have to be a scary thing. There are actually many benefits for mailers. It reduces the complexity of mail acceptance and verification, thus making the process faster, and your mail gets accepted more quickly. And it standardizes the acceptance process, which is particularly important when you have multiple mailing sites. And it also provides for more automated and trend-based mail quality feedback. And the parallel process allows you to work on any issues before you actually go live. And probably the biggest benefit is that the mailers have much more control over the mail release schedules and the postage payment schedules. Now, it is important to understand, however, that once you go into seamless acceptance, there's not any going back. You can't revert back to the regular acceptance and verification. And Windobook can help you adopt seamless acceptance. And again, we covered a lot of these items. We've got a lot of tools available. There's the Your Score, which is the automated method to access your mailer scorecard data on a daily basis so that you can continually monitor your results. And DAT PreCheck, which is the utility to validate mail.dat files. And what we recommend is that you do that right from the pre-sort process before you actually go into print production so that any errors can be detected and corrected early on in the process. And Mary also showed us WB Scanned, which is actually a finished mail pallet inventory management system, but it also provides for that scanning of pieces, handling units, and pallets to ensure that they track back to a mail.dat file and the right mail.dat file. So this helps prevent undocumented piece issues. And we also, she also showed you some things in our DatMail core product that can help, particularly the undocumented piece audit report. We also offer mailing optimization analysis. Those are 60-minute sessions with our software experts, and they're totally free. And we can take a look at your files and review your workflow and make recommendations on areas that you might have as weak points before you go into seamless acceptance. We can even do this on site, although of course with the coronavirus now that's restricted, but before that occurred, and certainly once it gets resolved, we actually do those visits on site if that works better for you. And of course, we have a whole bunch of free educational resources that we offer. So the best way for you to understand more about how WindowBook can help you understand all of this and to look at our tools that can help you implement this is, again, to ask for this free mailing optimization analysis session. So a couple ways to do that. You can go to our website to windowbook.com/MOA for mailing optimization analysis. Or you can call us on our toll-free line, which is 800-524-0380, and ask for your mailing optimization analysis. Or you can make that same request to us by email at sales@windowbook.com. So please do take advantage of that. All right, at this point, we are going to open it up for any questions that you might have. And again, just quick refresher how to do that. You can either click on the raise hand icon, and that'll be our cue to unmute you so that you can ask your question. Or you can type your question into the questions area and click the send button, and then we'll read and respond to your questions. So go ahead and submit those questions if you haven't done so already. And while you're doing that, I will go take a look and see if we've got any submitted questions or any raised hands. And yes, we do. This question says, what is the status of the Postal Service mandating seamless acceptance? Great question. If you weren't aware, back on January 8th of this year, the Postal Service issued a Federal Register notice with a proposal to mandate a seamless acceptance. And that had a 30-day comment period during which people that are interested in the industry and the Postal Service could respond back with their comments to that proposal. So that period has obviously closed, and those comments we're going to go through some analysis. Now, we haven't heard anything definitive from the Postal Service on when they expect to publish a response to that. Typically what would happen is if they make it a final ruling, they would again publish a Federal Register notice indicating that that rule had been made final and include all the details. Now, we haven't heard anything about when they plan to do that or if they plan to do that, and it's very possible that with the coronavirus situation that we've got going on, that this may have been put on hold just to deal with the more urgent situation of that. So at this point, we really don't have an answer for you as to when that might occur. We don't think the Postal Service will backtrack on that. We think they do still want to move forward with seamless acceptance mandate, but at this point we don't have any firm dates on that. Thank you for that. Great question. Okay, here's another question. The undocumented piece report, can you go through again how that works, how we would get to that? Yes, we can do that. As we mentioned, and we couldn't really show it to you because we would have to use somebody's live data, and we obviously wouldn't want to show that on a public webinar. But the way it works, you would go to the informed visibility. It's called IVMTR, which is the informed visibility mail tracking report. You would go to that area of the business customer gateway, and there's a number of different reports or files that you can download from there. The specific one that you would want is the undocumented barcode file. Once you download that file, and again, as Mary mentioned, those are only available for a limited time, so you can actually set it up so you can do those downloads in an automated fashion so that you have them and you don't have to remember to download them. But anyway, once you have that file downloaded, then you can import it into the DATMail software from WindowBook and generate that report, that undocumented piece report. And that undocumented piece report basically shows you all the information where those undocumented pieces are coming from, what job, what container, so forth. And we also give you hints on the report itself as to what may be the cause of those errors, so that you can either go research those errors and figure out how you need to make corrections in your system to correct the errors, or if it's not actually your error and it's actually either a Postal Service error, or perhaps somebody fat fingered something and they accidentally used one of your CRIDs or MIDs when submitting their files, and it's actually not your error at all, but belongs to somebody else, you still need to be able to dispute that information. So if you have this report, it can really be invaluable in presenting that information to the Postal Service in case of an assessment. Hopefully that helps. And again, that's something that we would help you with. We can help you figure out how to download that file and how to import it into DATMail. So if you're interested in that, we can certainly help you with that. That mailing optimization analysis session is a perfect vehicle for us to do that for you. Anything to add there, Mary?
No, Monica, other than that report we just recently added. So it is, Monica, it's new just within the last couple of weeks, and we keep adding more and more descriptions to it. So it is a very cool feature.
That's true. That is very new. We just put that out in our March release of DATMail, so it is very new. If you're not familiar with it, or you want to get more information on it, we'd again happy to help you during a mail optimization analysis session.
Hey, Monica, in the mail optimization session, so that's not just limited to existing DATMail clients. Obviously, if someone's on here and they want to try kicking the tires, by all means, reach out and we can work with you and show you how everything works.
Exactly, and thank you for bringing that up, Mary. Yes, that is not just for WindowBook existing clients. We are here to help you out and show you what we've got to offer and what we can do to help you out. And in fact, I'm glad you brought that up, because due to the coronavirus situation that we've got going on, and because of the upcoming, or what we believe to be the upcoming seamless mandate, we do have some very special deals on some of our tools. For example, we have some seamless solution bundles. So we bundle together some of those tools that we talked about earlier. We've got some very lucrative deals on that. So if you're interested and you're not a current WindowBook client, we can show you and tell you what that information is. If you are a WindowBook client, we've still got some deals available for you if you need to upgrade to things like, for example, to utilize that undocumented piece report, you do have to have the Postal Web connector that Mary showed you. The reason that's important is because we've got to be able to get to the payment status to give you some of the data for that report. So if you don't already have that, we've got some special reduced pricing on all of those software tools. And again, we want to help the mailing community during this difficult time. So we've definitely got some offers that offer some very discounted prices for these software tools that can help people. All right, looks like that is the end of our questions. So we do want to thank you for your participation today. And we also, before we leave, want to remind you about all the free educational resources that WindowBook provides. We do record these webinars. All of our other webinar recordings are located here at windowbook.com/recorded webinars. And we've also got out on our website the schedule for our upcoming webinars. So check that out and see what might be of interest. We've also got some very informative white papers on a variety of different mailing industry topics. And if you are not already signed up to receive our weekly Postal Concierge e-tip, you might want to do that. That is a subscription-based service. It doesn't cost anything, but you do need to subscribe in order for us to be able to send that to you. Thank you, everybody, for attending today. Thank you to the Central Florida PCC for inviting us to present this material to you. And please do reach out to us if you've got any questions, or to the Central Florida PCC. Again, thanks, everybody. Appreciate your attendance today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.